Welcome everyone, today is our first Mimic Monday and I'm totally not a mimic, so let's get right into my predictions. But before we do that, I would really appreciate if you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future Mimic Monday. My predictions are also based on the questions from the Dawko interview, so I linked the video and his channel down below, so go watch and support him. It's a really good interview and now let's get started. So my first prediction will be more on the technical side of the game, and at the start of the interview they already talked about game tests and a playtester named the Regular Source. He's a really great cosplayer in the community and he also did the props for the Five Nights at Freddy's booths at PAX West. You should really check him out, I link him down below as well. So they do a lot of testing and that's why I believe the game will actually be really great optimized when it launches. And I also think there won't be as many bugs as in Security Breach, and I really don't believe there will be really any bugs, just a few maybe, because there can always be bugs, especially if it's not a AAA studio. Although the studio of Ceborg Studios really evolved, there are 100 people now, I think, or close to 100. So yeah, my next prediction is that there will be a lot of mascot costumes that we didn't see already and that they are completely new. They are not from the books and they are not from the games. They will be completely new. I mean, you can already see in the trailer that there are some mascots that have literally never existed before. So yeah, the creative director of the games also put out the question that they maybe explore the origins of the mimics, so I really think as well that there will be definitely tapes or notes that will talk about Edwin and his child and the incident where the child gets run over by the car, so you already know what I'm talking about if you clicked on his videos. If not, I will do a video in the future explaining the Mimic story and stuff, so stay tuned for that as well. They also talked about the 1970s and the challenges they had to face while they were developing a prequel, so the game will definitely be in the 1979 like in the trailer was teased, or in the teaser trailer I think. However, I still think that maybe in some point of the game we are actually back in the present time or close to the present time, or there is just something that will connect the game to the characters from Security Breach, to Vanessa, Cassie or Gregory. There will just be something, I think. Because after the ending of Ruin there definitely has to be something to connect them to the Mimic, so they can set up the final game for their storyline or another game after Ruin. So yeah, speaking of Ruin, they also talked about Ruin and how they want to keep the vibe of Ruin, but that they want to make it less linear than Ruin, so more open world, I guess, I think, or if you even can call that, because they want to keep the tight hallways, but they say there will be multiple paths. There will also be a main path, but you can go off the main path and do other stuff, find secrets, but I also think you can do different stuff like different endings. I think this game will have a lot of endings as well, like Security Breach, not like Ruin where there are two endings different from the main ending, and one of the endings is literally also at the main ending of the game, and just for one ending you have to do some other stuff. I think you have to do a lot more this time to get different endings again. A quick info as well is there will be no VR mode on release. The game will release with flat mode only, but they will add it later as well. It's not completely scrapped, it's just time consuming. and they want to experience that everybody can experience the game at launch. Which brings me to another prediction. I think gameplay wise the game will be the best Devo game yet. They will just combine everything from past games that people enjoyed, like the vibe of Ruin, the open world styled FNaF thing, but took the critique like Security Breach was too big, so they just do multiple paths, secret doorways and stuff. And then the mini games from the Help Wanted games, the VR games, because people always enjoyed the gameplay of the VR games, and they always did flat models for these games, so you already saw in the trailer one of the mini game style things that you would probably see more like in a VR game. So I think gameplay wise it will be a really good game this time, and a lot more unique stuff. I don't think it will be that repetitive like Ruin. Another prediction I have is that there will be new parts to the book's story. I know there is a huge time gap between the origin story of the Mimic and when he is in a mega pizza place down in the Freddy Fazbear pizza place, but I don't think they will only fill in stuff in this gap. I think we also get some new parts than the origin story of the Mimic's story, like more insights on Edwin and his child and stuff. I think we just will get more info on that, and maybe how Fazbear Entertainment really got to Edwin and why they choose him to make the animatronics for the first game. And yeah, back to the gameplay again. They actually showed off two new screenshots, you could say, more posters of the game, and it was about the data diver, the first one, the fast wrench prototype, how you want to call it, however. And I think this fast wrench will be actually better than a fast wrench in the future and will have a lot more options. Will sort of act like Gregory's fast watch, I think. And yeah, they talked about how the fast wrench is the key, and I think you have to upgrade the fast wrench to fit into other things, other doors. Maybe it will act like a key, and you probably have to update it always to unlock new areas, and that will be the main gameplay side of the game. You have to upgrade the fast wrench on one of Helper's stations to unlock a different part of the factory. Maybe you can update the data diver as well to unlock new abilities or something like that, or to use different machines in the factory. And obviously you need to use the fast wrench to unlock certain puzzles in the game. You already saw that in the trailer where the character put in the fast wrench and opened a puzzle next to him. They also talked about the new FNaF fans, or actually newcomers to the game, and how there will be a main path that they can follow and probably will follow just to get the ending and go to the credits. And it will be way easier than different paths, so it's really newcomer friendly. And then they talked about secret paths again and secret stuff you can find, so I thought about what if there will be actually side quests in this game this time. There were side things in Security Breach, but it was actually always linked to a different route you could take, and it's just a bonus. If you stay after 6 AM you can also do the other stuff and unlock new security badge levels. However, I think this time there will actually be real side quests that you may get from the nurse character, for example. It will be a really interesting concept and game. If I would need to predict some of the secrets, I definitely think one of the secrets or sub-secrets will be involved in Fredbear and Spring Bonnie mascot costumes, as well as the prototypes for the classics and their suits. I think as well, like Dawko, that we see the real glitch-strap suit, and that we get some kind of something to Afton and Henry, and maybe more information or more forgotten secret suits of mascots we didn't see in any other FNaF game before. Mascots that were linked to Henry and Afton but didn't make the cut for their location and were replaced by Freddy and the gang. So yeah, Scott Cawthon was heavily involved in the game again, of course, but Steve also talked about how they think they really broke the ice and that Scott really trusts them now. So I think one of my predictions as well is that we see new story parts that are exclusive to the game and have nothing to do with the books or wasn't mentioned in the books. So definitely more things like that connects the Mimic story from the books to the Five Nights at Freddy's story, obviously, to the main story of the main 9 games. They also say Scott and everybody who worked on this game and everybody who sees this game is really excited, so we can really be hyped about this game when it launches. Another game they took feedback from is Help Wanted 2, and while they just talk about flat mode, I have another prediction on that topic because a lot of people like the gameplay of Help Wanted 2 and it's probably the best gameplay in all of the FNaF games, but people were really let down by the story because there wasn't really that much new story in the game, and the endings, there are only 2 and they are all both short and really confusing. People didn't really understand what they meant, so I actually predict that the story of this game will be really straightforward because it's also based on the books. There are also a lot of people who didn't read the books and probably were confused by the ending of the Ruin DLC, so there probably will be a lot more straightforward with the story to explain to those people who the Mimic is and his backstory. And if you go off the main path of the game, like they always talk about, there will be all those secrets for the theorists that will connect the lore from the Mimic and Edwin to Henry, Fredbear's, Afton. So I think there will be a lot for both of those people. However, I just think the main story will be a lot more straightforward than in any other FNaF game. Then they talked again about the mascot costumes and how Scott's art team sent them a lot of artwork for the book mascot costumes and how he then wanted to create a lot more of the mascot costumes, that they need a lot more than that. So I think we will see a lot more familiar faces from other games that we didn't already see in the trailers and promos yet. I don't think we only see an early version of Monty or Hippo or the Music Man. I think we see a lot more. Maybe even the early version of the Puppet. That's why the Puppet's music box was used for Jackie's music box in the trailer. Who knows? That's also a prediction for me. Up next, they talked about how they look back into every game to find things they could pick up and make a backstory for. So the prequel actually connects to the sequels and is not just a standalone thing and actually did somehow influence the future of the games, because that's what a prequel should do. And yeah, that's why I think we will see a lot of new side stories, actually in the game, a lot of backstories for unimportant characters in the future, like they did with Mr. Hippo and with Monty. I think we see a lot more backstories for character than Mr. Hippo and Monty and other stuff. What's actually pretty crazy, they told us that the game is in talks since the book's release, and actually since then also in some kind of development However, they started production, full production, after Help Wanted 2. So that's why I predict we will see a lot more things from the books than we think, and a lot more to other stories from the books, not just to the Mimic story. So maybe a lot of Easter eggs from different things, like Lolly's game, the baby thing. I hope not, because that's a really weird story, but who knows. I definitely think, though, we will look back in Ruin or in Help Wanted, or maybe actually even Security Breach after Secret of the Mimic release, and understand then what these things mean, obviously. But there will be probably a lot of things, a lot more things we didn't already knew about in Ruin and Help Wanted 2 that was actually connected to Secret of the Mimic. The next part was really interesting because they talk about how the fun part and the important part for a franchise like Five Nights at Freddy's is that they have to think really far into the future. So I think we will see new characters in Secret of the Mimic that maybe get spin-offs in the future, their own spin-offs, or just appear in future games. So not like Mr. Hippo or stuff, really characters we didn't see in any other game yet, but will somehow return in the future. Size-wise, the game should be as big as Roxy's Raceway, and people think that's actually intentional, and Advance Factory is actually under Roxy Raceway. However, I do not think it's actually intentional, because they talked about how they thought it would be a lot bigger and how hallways look a lot bigger in VR than in flat mode. So I don't actually think it's intentional. I predict the Mimic got somehow different to Roxy's Raceway. But then you never know. I mean, a lot of people back then said Fredbear's Family Diner would be below the Pizza Plex, and I always theorized about how maybe the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place from Fazbear Pizzeria Simulator would be below that, because it was the last location we knew about, and it was the same location as the old locations. So yeah. And maybe originally it was just supposed to be a part of the factory below Roxy Raceway, and that's where the Mimic was trapped, and somehow it turned out that the whole factory will fit below Roxy Raceway, and that's where Ruin picks up after Secret of the Mimic. You just never know with these games. Then they talked about multiple stories again and secret passageways, and which is pretty interesting, hidden and false walls. That's the first time they said something like that, and that could be really interesting. Probably more stuff like in Security Breach, where there's this one door that you had to flash with a camera, and then it appeared out of nowhere, and there was the secret code room with Mike's TV or something. It's just pretty interesting, and I think the secrets in this game will actually be a lot harder to find than in other games they made. And they always talk about multiple stories and layers and stuff, so I think there will be actually multiple floors, there will be an elevator again, and that's how they optimize the game, because it's a lot less bigger than Security Breach. But I think there will just be a lot of floors, and every time you go to a different floor, the other one spawns out and stuff, maybe something like that. And that's why the game is actually not that big, like it fits in Roxy Raceway, but it has multiple layers, you know. And they also talk about how deeper you get, the more difficult it gets and stuff, so pretty interesting. After all of that, Dawko actually asked them about the books again, and they just say that if we didn't read the books, we didn't know the full story, and that's pretty much confirmed what I said, that there will be a lot of things we didn't know about, and there will be also probably things about the origin story of the Mimic we already got in the books but also don't know about. There will probably also be a lot more about the teams who got sent before you to claim the Mimic and died, obviously. Probably there will be tapes. Like, I think it's a really good theory. They talked, I think Dawko talked about this, that there could be tapes you would find, and that's actually tapes from the dead broadcast from First Entertainment. So I really predict this will actually really happen. Dawko mentioned something how they want to probably connect it more to the FNaF story, the mainline story, to spice it up a bit. So I think that pretty much confirms, because he nodded to that, the creative director, that there will definitely be a lot more threadbare stuffs and Henry and Afton stuff maybe. I think we'll see a lot more than we actually expect right now. A normal playthrough for the main story is supposed to be 8 to 10 hours, and for all the stuff, 100% secret stuff and collectibles, all collectibles, it's supposed to be 15 to 20 hours, which is pretty interesting because the game is supposed to be as big as Roxy's Raceway, so a lot smaller than Security Breach, but you need the same time or even longer for that game, especially to find all the secrets. So there will definitely be a lot of secrets, and I think and I predict we see a lot more secrets than in Security Breach and in Ruin, even more than both of them combined. I think they wanted to give a lot of context and a lot of connections to the future of FNAF games. Then they talked about layers again, which is pretty interesting because they really often talked about layers and stories and stuff in this interview. So I think it's a really important role in this game and will influence a lot more in this game than you think. Because they talk about how the deeper you get, the more harder it gets, but it will not reach UCN level hard, so no 50-20 mode. However, one of my predictions is I think there will be harder nights or something. I think there will be office sections again, and I think there will be harder challenges like custom night stuff for the hardcore FNAF fans, you know? Like some kind of unique nights, like the Ennard boss fight or the Burn Trap boss fight. I think we get something like that. And obviously they talked about how there are not all characters revealed yet, and there are characters they didn't show yet, which is actually obviously because they don't want to spoil the whole game. So not much to say about that. After that they talked about how Alien Isolation and real custom practical VFX workshops like Jim Henson's Creature Shop inspired the game, and obviously 70s to 80s horror movies. They talked about how they visited a few years ago the guys who made stuff for the Jurassic Park movies, so it's pretty interesting. So the game will definitely be a lot darker, and the fact that they showed the hands of dead people behind mascots in the trailer, I think the game will be a lot more gruesome and darker. However, don't get your hopes up too high, but the age rating changed a little bit for this game, so I think we will definitely see some more disturbing stuff, but not that much. I think they will try to get away with that while hiding their bodies behind the mascots and keep the clothes on their hands. Maybe the blood will be shown as black stuff, and who knows? Who really knows? Maybe the game will be completely crazy and the whole theories about the posters they post on Twitter are right and we lose our head at some point. We get into that in another video, I think. Or we just wait until the game is out. What's really exciting is they say that Secret of the Mimic is actually the game with the smoothest development out of all of their FNaF games and games in general, and it's their best work of story yet, so that's really exciting, and I think that confirms that this game will be really polished at launch, and if there are any bugs, then just a few that slipped through and wasn't really noticed in the playtests. Close to the end of the interview they showed the second exclusive poster, and it was about a data diver again, which is pretty interesting and confirms that the data diver is probably the main gameplay part in this game. And it showed some kind of different security levels again, different symbols with different assignments like basic, security, administration. So I think the data diver will replace the security badges from Security Breach, and you have to upgrade your security level on different helper stations to unlock different doors for higher levels and stuff. So there is definitely a lot inspiration from Security Breach and Ruin, which is always and pretty important. They say there will be more teasers, maybe just images, maybe another trailer or another clip after the interview before Secret of the Mimic releases, so more marketing. Before they finished the interview, actually the creative director of Stevo Studios asked Dawko a question, and he asked what's he most excited for, and he talked about all this Afton, Henry, Fredbear's Fazbear Entertainment stuff he wants to see, and the creative director Evan laughed at that, and because he couldn't really say anything to that, but one interesting quote is he said he hopes they won't disappoint. So I think that pretty much confirms that we get some sort of new Fredbear stuff, maybe Henry and Afton stuff. I hope so, but I have a feeling they want to separate Edwin and the Mimic from Henry and Afton. But I really think the Mimic's story influenced somehow Afton's story. I mean, it has to be, because it's literally the beginning of FNaF history. So that's pretty much it right now, actually. If you didn't watch the interview, I hope this video was pretty informative to you. You should definitely watch it, I linked it down below like I said. If you did, I hope it was pretty fun to listen to my theories, theorizing a bit, and if you want you can discuss with me in the comment section. I will answer every comment down below, because it's really fun to talk about FNaF with other people. Leave a like so we can get the theories and ideas out there. I would really appreciate it. If you want to be up to date about the Five Nights at Freddy's Dead by Daylight collab, or you didn't even know it's happening, why not check out this video here? If you are up to date, then listen to this FNaF jam here, have fun and enjoy. Until next time, I hope.